No country has ever prospered that failed to put its own interests first. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism.
New Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Guess what?
What?
I just started recording.
We'll call it a dress. All right, we'll call it a dress rehearsal. All right. Ready? Okay.
Welcome to the weekly wrap-up, where two guys are going to sit around and talk at a camera about what we think is the most important stories of the week. It's our first time doing it. We're going to do it once a week. I'm sure we'll have green screens behind us next week, the week after. It can only get better. My name's Bob Dunlap, and I'm coming out of Twitter.
I'm Eric Matheny. How you doing? Bob, the sunglasses are off. Out of Twitter. He's a real person. How are you, Bob? How was your week?
It was good. A little stressful, but, you know, it's life. You get your ups and your downs, and you get kicked in the face. I'm like everyone else. It's some good things, some bad things. Hopefully, by the end of each day, it's a little more good things than bad things.
Well, we got a big week politically. What was the top story for you this week?
I'd have to say the Trump rally. Yes.
You ever been?
I've been to one. Have you been to one, Eric?
I have been to one. How was your experience there?
It was horrible, actually. It was great once I got in, but we sat outside for 4 hours in 98-degree sunny weather. Guy in front of me had an umbrella that he wasn't using for some unknown reason. And I went with a woman that you are familiar with too, Robin. And I stood there for 3 hours, 2 hours, blocking the sun for Robin and I. So she would have passed out. She's from Virginia, up in the mountains, and she wasn't used to that type of heat. But going to a Trump rally is nothing like going to a concert. You sit outside for 4 hours. You get the Secret Service got to check you. I turned around and a dog was in my crotch, and I was like, ah! And I screamed. And I look up, and there's a Secret Service agent. I'm like, hi.
But the energy of a Trump rally, I mean, you can't find that anywhere.
No.
It's just,
no.
It's mesmerizing what that man's able to do. It's so much fun.
We should go a little different on this round. Like, we could talk about the economy.
Yeah, exactly. How's the economy?
Well, as Trump says, it's the best ever.
It is
huge. Well, the black unemployment is the lowest it's ever been recorded. Hispanics the lowest. I think women is a 75-year low. it's a great time to, if you're looking for a job, because just about everyone's hiring. You notice that? Everywhere you go, you see we're hiring.
I noticed that the other day. Everywhere you go, you see help wanted signs. There's 163 million Americans working right now. Like you said, the minority numbers are the lowest historically, as the lowest in our lifetime at the very least.
Yeah.
And unemployment across the board, 3.6%. Do you remember when it was 10%? I remember when it was 10%.
Yeah, under Obama.
Under Obama, exactly.
He'll never have that kind of growth. He must have a magic wand if he thinks he's going to bring back manufacturing.
No, the difference is we hired a businessman, not a politician. Makes all the difference.
Crazy saying we're going to have 3% GDP growth. Everyone's like, "You're nuts! You can't do that." I think he hit it first quarter. He was in the office.
Yeah, he did.
There was another one. If they said if Trump wins, the stock market's going to tank. And I remember
that.
The Shark Tank, that show.
Sure.
It's the bald guy in the middle. He's a finance guy.
Yeah.
About a week before the election, they asked the panel, "Well, what's going to happen to the stock market if Trump wins?" And the bald guy from Shark Tank goes, "Oh, it's going to explode." And everybody was like, "What? Are you crazy?" He was the only one. He's a businessman. Watch, it's going to explode.
And it did.
He's left its nut jobs the night he won. He sold out his kids' college funds, got him out of stock, and put a tweet out saying, "Everybody sell!" Well, the market was down about 200 points before the market opened that day he won, or the night he won. And then it came roaring back, and it's just, I don't know, it's added trillions of dollars of wealth to our 401ks and mutual funds. I mean, if you weren't in the stock market for this, you're an idiot. So.
Look, 6 million new jobs in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, economy and the Supreme Court, if anything, if you have your reservations, if you have your doubts, economy and Supreme Court, at least for those two issues. And he's been
tweet out on that where if you voted for Trump just for the Supreme Court, I mean, that was a lot of people did that actually. It's the only reason they voted for him.
Look, not everybody's going to, abide by the cult of personality. Not everybody's going to be a fan. I understand, but my goodness, look at the results. And he's producing, he's promising things, and he's fulfilling those promises. And to Americans that are so used to having these politicians that accomplish a fraction of what they say they're going to do, we're not used to that. And it's a great feeling. And it's good to have a president who's putting America first time in 30 years.
He's also got in just the other day, 150th judge.
Yeah.
At the district level. So
Correct.
That's huge. I mean, he's changing the Ninth Circuit, which is in San Francisco, and those people are nuts. I mean, we could talk about San Francisco and how the left has ruined the city. I've been there before. It was beautiful. No matter where you stood, you felt like you were in a postcard. Now the tourism's got to be down to nothing. They ruined it.
Well, I put out tweets as well about that, stating that if you want to gauge liberal accomplishments on a small scale before you put them into higher office, look at cities. Look at LA. You want to talk about homelessness? They have diseases that we haven't seen since the Middle Ages coming back. They have rat problems. San Francisco, there's human waste all over the sidewalks. They have places where you can go shoot up. Look, hey, you can't open a Chick-fil-A, but you can go to a safe injection site. That's okay. San Francisco values, folks. San Francisco values.
Well, and how about Chicago? I mean, let's confiscate guns. Well, how's that working in Chicago? You really can't be a legal gun owner in Chicago, I don't think, or it's real hard.
Chicago has something like an El Paso style shooting, or those numbers routinely every weekend, 40 shot over a weekend, and no one says a word about it.
It just doesn't.
No one says a word. It does. No one cares. And it's awful. You want to talk about the politics of low expectations of a community.
Right.
Some guy goes to a mall and God forbid they commit an act of violence. If they can politicize it and use it to advance the narrative, then it'll get that airtime. But if it's black on black, if it's gang related, look at Dayton versus El Paso. Which one got the media attention? Which one fit the narrative? Dayton was an Elizabeth Warren supporting socialist, avowed Antifa guy. Well, let's put that's going to be a second tier story, but El Paso. And look, they're both equally awful. Mass shootings are a problem, but we need to address essentially the urban decay. We need to address the problems with society. and we need to address the mental health aspects to it, but the media wants to use it to push a narrative.
Right.
And that's Trump supporters, white supremacy, and things that are going to help them in the election.
What I'd like to talk about next is, and it kind of dovetails into that, is the black community is waking up and realizing, hey, we've been lied to for 50 years. I like Trump. So now all the Democrats are like, well, we need illegal aliens, open borders, come on in. Because I think Trump's got like a 30% approval rating with black people.
I've heard the number as high as 36%. And also remember this, we have two very important movements that did not exist in 2016 when Trump won. You have the walk away movement, which is huge, and you have the Blexit movement, where you have people like Candace Owens who are leading the charge in the black community for them to realize that for 40, 50 years, these politicians have done nothing for them.
It's just a shame. They're just pawns. They just use them as pawns.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Every 2 years, every 4 years, they go into the community, they rally, they say, we're going to do this and that. But look at Detroit, look at Baltimore, look at Chicago. No American should live like that.
I was going to bring up Baltimore. What's that guy's name from the congressman? I can't think of it now, but it's a dump.
Cummings, Elijah Cummings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do they keep voting him in? I don't know. Isn't it, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result?
Yeah, it's insanity.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
So I'm really, really happy that they're waking up. I'm really happy about it. But anyways, what else you got?
Well, we talked about 9/11. Let's talk about another big event that happened this week, is the firing of John Bolton. How do you feel about that?
I like it. I don't like John. I think he's a warmonger, and I don't like him.
I'll tell you, he's a holdover of the Bush era, and I think I understand why Trump has to bring people like that on. I mean, look, he's got to toe that line. He's got to be a politician at times. John Bolton has a lot of influence in Washington. But again, he is a holdover from the Bush era. And I know we had spoken about this before we went on camera, but Donald Trump is a reaction to Republican failures as much as a Democrat failure. So John Bolton, he was the engineer of the Iraq war. He is a war hawk. He's a globalist. We don't need that. Hey, what did Trump say at the rally the other night? We're a top energy producer now. Do you remember when we were dependent on Saudi Arabia? We were dependent on foreign oil?
Yes.
Remember when you couldn't drive an SUV because you were supporting terrorism?
Well, gas was $3.50 a gallon.
Yeah. So we're an energy producer. Honestly, what business do we have in the Middle East? We have no vested interest there anymore other than preventing another ISIS. We leave a power vacuum. You have an ISIS. So that begs the question, what do we do?
I couldn't believe he left Iraq the way he did. That was just unbelievable. But let's go back to the energy, because that is so. Every president since Nixon has said, "I'm going to get us energy independent," and Trump's the only one that did it. And he really didn't do anything other than just taking the shackles off the companies, saying, "No, go ahead and frack. No, go ahead." Apparently, we have a boatload of natural gas too. Not just
a lot of dinosaurs lived here. A lot of dinosaurs lived in North America. Yes.
I remember back in the 70s, they said we were going to run out of oil in 10 years. It's kind of like global warming. We're all going to die in 12 years.
I remember that when I was a kid, it was the ozone layer. We had to be mindful of the ozone layer, and then they called it global warming, the greenhouse effect, and now it's just the all-encompassing term climate change.
In the 70s, it was global cooling. I'm not kidding you. It's global cooling.
I have no frame of reference for that, but I've read it in books.
So what are you saying?
Well, a little bit of a young pup here, but I'll tell you what, being an energy producer, it really takes the onus off of us having to be the nation builders of the Middle East. And one, we can't do it because we have to understand that our differences in the Middle East transcend politics. These are deep-rooted ideological differences that go back 1,000 years. I mean, the conflicts between the Israelis and the Palestinians, that's as old as the Bible.
Yeah.
So, and we can't insert this American democracy where they frankly know nothing of it and frankly don't want it. But our problem, and I blame people like John Bolton, is putting us in Iraq where we never should have been. Look, hey, Saddam Hussein, horrible guy, horrible dictator, but at least he maintained some form of balance there, where he was the strong man. Lebanon, Egypt, you name it. Libya is now a failed state.
Right.
But that part of the world, if you really look at it, that part of the world does better with a strong man in power. They respect it, and it keeps things in line because an organization like ISIS could never rise up against the strong man. So Saddam Hussein, may be an SOB, but he's our SOB, and he's keeping things under control. And the only globalist who understood that was George H.W. Bush, which is why he didn't go all the way to Baghdad. He pushed him out of Kuwait, and that was it. He didn't march on Baghdad, and he didn't go try to take out Saddam Hussein because he knew what would happen. His son made that mistake.
Yeah, we ruined Libya. And then Hillary just laughs about it. We went
What
in,
difference does it make?
Yeah. It's just slave trafficking now in the country. I have a friend that was born there actually and lived there for a little bit, but I agree. It's unbelievable.
So I think good managerial decision by the president. I think he needs to go. I think you got to have a national security advisor who's more in line with the Trump agenda.
General Flynn.
Yes. You know what? Let's talk about Flynn. What do you think is going to happen with him? There's a lot coming out.
I think it's going to be thrown out of court. I'm pretty friendly with Sydney, his attorney.
I know Sydney, yeah.
And I think she's gunning for it to just be dismissed. I think the judge is going to have to once he sees what they've done. And again, the prosecutors at the federal level do this all the time. She's written a book about it.
Yeah.
What they did with Enron, what they did with Arthur Anderson. 80,000 people lost their job, and it was all a lie. And you know who did it was that scumbag that Mueller had on his team, Weiserman.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was one of those Enron scumbag prosecutors. That basically what happened with Flynn is they said we're going to go after your son if you don't plead guilty.
That's what I heard. And by trade, I'm a criminal defense attorney, so this is right up my alley. The government, when the government's coming after you, you got to understand they have unlimited resources and they do not play nice. And they could come to Michael Flynn. They could say, if you don't play ball with us, we're going to go after your son. And like any father would do, he says, I'll do it. Now, I think in the end, he's going to be exonerated. But let me tell you something. You can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. He's spent more money than he has. This is a career military guy. He's not a rich guy. He's mortgaged his house to the hilt. He's, thank God there's GoFundMe's and there's a lot of, and we know being very active on conservative Twitter, we know that there's a lot of support out there financially and spiritually for him. Mm-hmm. I think what's going to happen is he's going to vacate his plea. I think he's going to vacate. He's going to undo it. Because remember, he pled guilty. So everything is just
an opportunity to do that. And he said no.
Well, I believe that's going to be coming. I think Sydney is a great attorney. And she's doing some great work on that case. And they're turning up the material they need. Because I believe what they're going to do is they're going to have a motion to vacate the plea. And then there's going to be some serious prosecutorial misconduct they're going to be bringing forth as the basis for a motion to dismiss. Yeah. So I don't think this is a case that's going to go to trial. I don't think he's going to be sentenced. This man, this American hero, has been through hell. And let me tell you, I've got a good frame of reference for this. I had the great 4 day. I got it on a Saturday. I was done with it by Sunday. Wow. I could not put it down. If you're a John Grisham fan, not the stuff he's put out over the last 10 years, because that's garbage. If you like old 90s, like The Firm, John Grisham, read this book. This guy can write, and man, can he tell a story. And essentially what he did is he couldn't remember whether he had sent an email. He couldn't remember whether he had sent someone an email, and he said, I don't recall sending the email. And there was a follow-up later on from the FBI. Well, hey, you sent this email. Oh, yeah, I did. You lied to us.
So he went to jail for that?
He was charged with 2 crimes. One was the statement about the email, which was I don't remember what I had for lunch 3 days ago, man, let alone an email I sent 6 months ago. I send 50, 100 emails a day. I don't remember what I sent this morning. So he couldn't recall an email in questioning with the FBI. And that's his first mistake. He never should have spoken to them. Never, ever, ever give a statement to the police. They're not there to help you. They're there to build a case against you. Invoke your right to remain silent. It's a beautiful thing. So he got charged with that. The other thing he got charged with, they ended up dropping that, and he pled to the, giving a false statement to the FBI. The other thing was he deleted his Facebook account, and the government said he was trying to hide evidence.
Well, it's still going to be on Facebook server.
That's the way our government plays. That's what they do. If they want you, they got you. And I was so happy this week to see that the DOJ is going to pursue charges against Andrew McCabe. That is a major player in the deep state.
Yeah.
And I put it on Twitter yesterday, and I put it on my Twitter today. If Andrew McCabe, first of all, he has to get indicted. He hasn't been charged yet.
Right.
The DOJ is going to push forward. I think what they're going to do is they're going to impanel a grand jury, and they're going to try to indict him. And once he's indicted, mark my words, I believe he's going to cooperate. And I think that's when he's going to give up Comey and Loretta Lynch, because those are the two people that are above him. Comey was the director, Loretta Lynch being the attorney general.
Right.
Comey, I think he's going to go down for a number of things. Loretta Lynch, tarmac meeting.
Yeah.
That tarmac meeting was the quid pro quo. Slick Willie meeting up with Loretta where they thought nobody was. Some local reporter in Phoenix happened to catch him talking on the plane for 30 minutes about golf and grandkids. No, That was the Hillary's going to win. You're going to sit on the Supreme Court. You got to drop this thing against Hillary. That's what it was, man. Straight out of a spy novel.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
I couldn't believe what Obama did with the DOJ, the IRS, the FBI, NSA. He weaponized all of it. Everybody thought Hillary was going to win. And if she did, we would have not known anything about what we now know today. I thank God for Donald Trump, really.
I thank God for that too. And we lived through Obama, and maybe we were distracted because, the years of 2008, 2009 through 2017 were pivotal years culturally. We saw a lot of cultural change, but we also saw a lot of technology.
Right.
And I think it really distracted us. It distracts us day to day, but it really distracts us from what's going on. So in 2007, the iPhone comes out, social media really hits a meteoric rise. And by 2017, we're kind of zombies. We're not aware. We're not living in the moment. We're not paying attention. And I think during that period of time, Obama was just able to not only weaken our position globally, I think he did a lot of damage here at home. A lot of the social movements that are standing against Trump, Antifa and such, they didn't come around when Donald Trump became president. They've been around. Go back to Ferguson. Go back to 2014. That's a really pivotal year.
Don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot.
That was a lie. That was a bold-faced lie. And the witnesses in that case contradicted. They said that never happened. If you want to talk about Ferguson from a factual basis, Michael Brown attacked a police officer. The guy was 6'4", 300 pounds. He was 8 feet away. Now, if you're 6'4", 300 pounds, 8 feet is 2 giant steps. And he lunged at him. The gun was discharged in the cop's car. Michael Brown reached for it in the holster, fired it. He was bull charging him. And let me tell you, if you get hit by a 300-pound guy on pavement, man, you may never get up from that.
I heard the cop broke his eye socket bone.
He did. He had a shattered orbital because Brown punched him when he was in the car. Man, it was an attack. And that's the thing. As a criminal defense attorney, I'm always telling juries, I'm telling prosecutors, I'm telling anyone who will listen, you don't have to be armed to be a lethal threat to somebody. You have to take into consideration the size and abilities of your opponent.
Right.
A 5'9", 165-pound man doesn't stand much of a chance against someone who's 6'4", 300 pounds. The gun is the equalizer, and we empower our law enforcement officers to use lethal force, and that was a situation. And unfortunately, the anti-cop sentiment came directly out of that movement. And you're seeing a problem. And look at the videos we saw in Brooklyn of the poor NYPD officers. You feel terrible for these guys, but I'm thinking, God, they're walking away taking that bucket to the head, the water. They don't want to end up viral. Man, this is a $46,000 a year job. You can make more managing a Starbucks, and these guys are going out risking their lives.
Right.
They don't want to be a hashtag, man. They'll just take the water, they'll swallow their pride, get in the car, and get the hell out of town. And I don't blame them for doing it.
What de Blasio has done with New York City is just a shame. I grew up outside of Manhattan, so I was there when Giuliani became district attorney, and boy, did he clean up New York City. It was unbelievable. There used to be people that come up to your car, spray your windshield, and start squeegeeing it. That was gone. He really cleaned up the city, and then he became the mayor. And it was he was awesome. And de Blasio has ruined the city. It's sad when the Democrats get hold of a city or a town, or they ruin it time and time again. It's beyond me how anybody would vote for them. It's just beyond me.
Well, speaking of voting, let's talk about last night. Last night they had the Democratic debates. and they narrowed it down to the top. What was it? The top 7?
Yeah.
Are you impressed?
I couldn't watch it, man. I read about it today, but I was listening to Rush earlier in my car at lunch, and he played a clip. I had to change the station. I can't hear him talk. It's unbelievable, their views.
Well, I watched it. Man, Joe Biden, the guy can't string a sentence together. Look,
I read that.
He was talking about record players, and the guy, he's just frankly, label me ageist. He's too old. He's too old. He's only a couple years older. What is he, 76, 75, 76?
I think, yeah.
Okay. Trump is 73. He's not much younger, but cognitively, he is leaps and bounds ahead of this guy. Biden is losing his marbles. I don't know if he's got the onset of Alzheimer's. I don't know if he's just
dementia.
Who knows? Well, okay, take the fact that he was in government for 44 years.
And did not.
Actually, local government before that. He's really only been in government. He was a public defender, which is a government job. And then he became a city councilman, I think it was in Delaware. And then he was elected to the Senate in 1973, where he served until 2009. And he ran for president the first time in the 1988 cycle. First time.
Yeah, he's run 4 times?
This is his 3rd time. He ran in 88,
okay.
He ran in 2008, and he ran again. He's running now. But aside from having no record to run on,
right.
None. He invokes an Obama every time he can. I think that's probably not the way to go, but really he can't invoke himself because he's done nothing. So he invokes Obama, hoping to rely on some nostalgia and some popularity there. But my God, the guy's just losing his mind.
Well, imagine if he wins the primary, and then Trump's doing 4 rallies or 5 rallies in 4 states, and Biden's pulling a Hillary and doing one every 30 days.
Well, they're gonna do that on purpose. But I'll tell you, if I were a Democrat and I were watching that rally last night, and that's our front runner, that's supposed to be the great hope.
Right.
I'd be having a come to Jesus moment. I'd be like, is there anyone we could parachute in? Because look, I love Trump. Clearly, I'm a Trump guy, but I'll acknowledge when there's a threat to him. And I've been thinking about it. I've been racking my brain, and tell me if I'm just being foolish. I don't see a threat to him on that Democratic side. I don't see a threat.
None of them have the charisma or the star power, or and none of them, they all want to turn us into socialists. How about a couple of debates ago when they said, who wants to give illegal aliens health insurance? And they all raised their hand.
Every one of them. I
was like, well, who's going to pay for that? I can't. And if you're a moderate Democrat, you got to be voting for Trump.
Did you see the New York Post headline the day after? It had all of them raising their hands saying, who wants to lose an election? Because they know.
Like their post.
But here's the thing, you talk about coastal elites, you talk about bubbles, LA, San Francisco. There are a lot of Democrats who are just decent, hardworking folks, union people, Kennedy Democrats, even Bill Clinton Democrats, because I think that'd be Republican by today's standards.
Right.
The party does not want to make this shift to socialism. And the problem is when you get into the primary, they all have to out-left each other. I've got an analogy, and I want you to go with me on it, but I've been thinking about it today. Embracing socialism is a lot like a porn addiction. You start with the soft stuff, kind of like Obamacare, socialized medicine, and you have to go more and more hardcore in order to satisfy that urge. So now we're talking gun confiscation. We're talking about paying for your college. We're talking about essentially disarming the population. We're talking about things that 5, 10, 15 years ago, we would laugh at. We'd think we were reading a dystopian novel. But in order to satisfy that socialist base, which is growing, they got to give them the hardcore stuff.
In the primaries, they'll come a little far to the middle once they're up against Trump. But they're all nuts. If you're a moderate Democrat, there's no way you're voting for him. I read a story the other day. There was a woman that thinks Trump's a racist, which he's not, doesn't like him, and is voting for him. And she's a Democrat.
What was the reason she gave?
Because everyone running for president and Democrats are nuts, and she doesn't want socialism, and she thinks they're all crazy, basically.
I think that sentiment, if you polled a large enough sample, most people would agree with that. I think that not only the damage the Democrats have done to themselves, I think coupled with the accomplishments of Trump, because this isn't a lesser of two evils election. Trump is a great president. He's done great things, and the policies that he's implemented and supported have helped everyday Americans, whereas what what Democrats are proposing, my God, how disastrous would that be?
Let's talk about polling since you brought it up. I read the other day there was a woman that got polled and she lied. These polls, I mean, I wouldn't put a Trump sticker on my car. I wouldn't put a Trump sign out in the yard. I wouldn't wear a Make America Great hat to the mall. So I'm not going to, if someone called me, which I never even called about this, I just lie. I'd be like, yeah, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Yeah. So,
hold your nose while you say it.
Yeah. Remember, I put a tweet out the other day that there was a story back in 2000 before the election, Hillary was going to win by 99%. And they all believed it. That bubble of these leftists. That's why they're convinced that Russia, something had to have happened.
Something had to have happened.
Something had to have happened. And they still believe it today. So they're really going crazy. Because when Mueller came out and said there wasn't any collusion, that was their man. They had it all riding on him. And
okay, but you want to talk about collusion. The mainstream media is an arm of the Democrat Party. The moment Mueller, first of all, that was a disaster when Mueller came out. I put out a tweet. He looked like my 90-year-old grandfather on the phone with Apple customer service. I mean, he just looked like this confused old man. And after that happened, instead of owning up to it or saying anything, they just forgot about it. So it's like, here we are in September. This happened in July? And it's like Mueller never happened. The media's got the ability to do that. It's really amazing. They can make you think it never happened.
I feel really bad for him because especially Rachel Maddow, that my mom loves. Every day it was Russia. Here comes Mueller every day. And then when he came out and dropped that bomb, I think she lost like 2/3 of her audience because they were like, well, what else are you going to talk about? It's all a lie.
It was Al Capone's vault.
I'm figuring this out. I'd like to think so, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
On what was that? I'm sorry.
I think some people on the left are figuring out that the media is just a bunch of propaganda liars and, like you said, an arm of the Democratic Party.
Well, I think that goes back to Trump. Everything goes back to Trump. And that's why he's a master of media, because everything goes back to him. He has used social media. He's got 64 million Twitter followers. Now, 64 million. Now, if you have a nighttime show and you're getting 1.5 million, 2 million viewers, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
At any given moment, he can communicate directly, not only with his 64 million followers, but anybody who's not following him still has access. He essentially has a giant microphone to the world anytime he wants. Anything he says. How often are his tweets in the news? Oh, Trump tweeted it at 6 a.m. or Trump tweeted at 7 a.m. He can bypass the media. He's exposed the media. Not only has he exposed the deep state, he's exposed the media as being completely irrelevant in the modern age.
It's beautiful.
We don't need him. We don't need him.
And I love it. And I love when people, or I hate it when people say, he needs to tweet less. It's like, what? That's what got him here. I think he should tweet more. Yeah. Yeah. I think whatever got him here, he should keep doing that.
He's done, like I said, he's a billionaire and he's president. He's done something right. That's something that all of us aspire to be. You want to be a billionaire, you want to be president. Well, he did it.
Well, and he's married to just the most beautiful first lady I think that we've ever had. And God forbid she could be on a cover of anything.
Yeah. Now the media is relentless with her, but
well, how
my
about
God.
Obama said, what was it?
Yeah.
Years ago said, boy, I really aspire to be like Trump.
You know, that's
the American dream.
He does embody the American dream, and it's no coincidence that something like 175 rap songs reference Donald Trump, because we'll play word association. Donald Trump, first word comes to mind.
Money,
exactly. Trump Hotel, the nicest, the richest, the luxurious. He is a brand, and there's no better master of branding than him. He is a clinic in branding. You want to be a marketing guy? Just watch Donald Trump. He's got it down. He is not only a master of media, he is just, you know, if a person could be a walking, talking brand of themselves, he's done that. And he brought that from the private sector to the presidency. And I think he's doing a great job. And I can't wait to see him serve 4 more years.
I can't imagine. He works harder than anyone I know. And he's 73.
And he's rich. And he's rich. Okay, Bob, you're 73. You have $3 billion in the bank. Are you getting up at 4 a.m. for a free job, or are you laying on a beach with a drink in your hand?
Beach.
Beach, yeah, exactly.
He doesn't even get paid.
He doesn't even get paid, no.
Unbelievable. He did this all for us. It's
Love a country.
I always say he's on his God adventure. I really, truly, in my heart, believe that he came to this world to do exactly what he's doing right now.
Well, what he's doing, the founders, yes, thank you. The founders of our country, when they created this republic, they believed that the people that would serve would be successful people who are now giving back at the later half of their lives. They didn't envision the AOCs. They didn't envision the cocktail waitress with a college degree who's somehow
bartender.
Sorry, bartender. I have nothing against bartenders. In fact, there are days when I'm having a stressful day in court and I'm like, man, I'd love to be a bartender and just make drinks and interact and go home. I have a problem with going from bartender to Congress. You want to be a bartender, business person, open a business, open your own bar. Sign a paycheck instead of receiving one. Have a little bit of life experience and then go into Congress. But to go from bartender to Congress,
it's absurd.
But that's not what our founders had in mind. Our founders had guys like Donald Trump in mind. These wealthy, independently wealthy, can't be bought, successful people who then wanted to, out of a spirit of duty, give back to their countries. And he's fulfilling that for free.
AOC, she beat a 10-term Democrat that was, I think he was right below Pelosi as far as power.
He was up there, yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but yeah, that was very disappointing. I actually am helping a gentleman, John Cummins, I think.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, he's running against her.
Yeah, so I'm kind of helping him out as best I can from down here in North Carolina. Anyways. Well,
absolutely, man.
How long do you think we've been on?
We've probably been on 25, 30 minutes.
Want to talk about something else?
Yeah, let's talk about something else. So, Trump rally. Talk about that on Monday. I know we started talking about the Trump rally. What is your opinion on the importance of showmanship in the election cycle this year?
It's huge, but again, Trump's the only one that has it. Dan Bishop, who's in my district, won because Trump came down there and did a rally, and the Democrats basically say that. But I mean, Dan Bishop is kind of he's your typical politician. He's going to back Trump, so I guess that's not very typical of a Republican, backing Trump instead of backstabbing him. But his charisma is nothing like Trump. So Trump is crucial in 2020, which there's another thing here, too. In 2018, when the president isn't running, not many people vote. And that with the voting scam that they did out in California and all over the country is how they won the House. 2020, when the president runs, everybody goes and votes. So we're taking it back in 2020. But Trump is crucial for helping everyone out.
I agree. And I think the fact that he can come down to North Carolina, have a rally, and push these guys, relatively unknown guys, over the finish line when they're pulling from behind, that goes to show his star power. And that's a great barometer for 2020. You know that if Bishop would have lost, the media would have been all over. Trump is done. He's losing his luster. The fact, the showmanship, this is the digital age. This is the age of media. The fact that he has that charisma, he's able to command it. My God, in a span of 24 hours, he could say, I'm going to have a rally. And he could have 20,000 people anywhere in the country. I don't care if it's in Los Angeles. I don't care if it's in Chicago. I don't care if it's in Charlotte. Anywhere he goes, he's going to command people to be there. He has that presence.
I wish he would go to California. There's a lot of conservatives in California, a lot more than you would think. And I've had
that debate with people. And look, I grew up in California, 15 miles out of any major city. You're going to have a lot of conservative folks. Orange County, which is going blue now. I think those are just changes. But Inland Empire, more rural parts of the state, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, and so forth. I think it just comes down to dollars and cents. It costs a lot of money for the campaign to bring him out there. Yeah. These rallies are free. Right. He pays for everything. Right. He pays for the security. He pays for the venue. And to go out there and spend all that money for a state that's just frankly not going to go his way, I mean, unfortunately, it comes down to dollars and cents.
Yeah, you're correct. Because, he flies Air Force One out there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 2 Air Force Ones that fly. So you don't know which one he's on. So imagine he's got to pay for that too, right? The taxpayers aren't paying for that. So it's got to
These are campaign expenses. Yeah.
got to be millions to put on a rally just for, and the logistics of it all, just to get them there. And I remember in Fayetteville on July 18th when I went to the rally, when we were leaving, they wouldn't let anyone leave the parking lot, and then all of a sudden you saw, and you're like, oh, okay, there goes Trump, and then everybody could leave.
Then everyone could leave.
It's just a logistics nightmare. So I'm with you on that on the money in California. It's not like we're going to win the states, so screw it. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. For the California fans, when he comes to Nevada, when he comes to Phoenix, people will make that drive.
Yeah.
People drive a state. People drive 350 miles, 400 miles for a Trump rally.
Yeah.
They will.
I drove 400 miles, I think. It took me 4 hours each way.
Yeah.
And that was in the same state. I live in North Carolina, and I had to drive 4 hours to North Carolina.
No, when he was here in Florida, he was in Orlando back in June. We had plenty of folks from down here in Broward County, Palm Beach County. That's 3.5 hour drive. No problem. People make that drive.
It's like going to Disney World.
It's exactly, yeah. He's a rock star, man.
He is.
Better and cheaper.
It's a real movement, and it's palpable. I mean, you can see it and feel it when you see him at a rally. It's just like, it just puts chills down my spine of what's going on, and I'm just so happy about it. What else huge happened this week? 9/11.
Well, 9/11.
Dan Bishop won.
Bolton's out.
Bolton's out. Thank God that mustache is gone. You got something in your hand here, John. Illegal immigration. Well,
what'd they say? 56% down at the border.
Yeah, they did.
Significant improvement.
Mexico is finally stepping up. It's another thing Trump has got them to do, which they've never done this. And the border, their southern border, they've really blocked that. So I mean, it's amazing what Trump has gotten everybody to do. He's going to bring China to the table. They see his rallies and they're like, oh man, he's going to win. Oh no. They know that. They know that in the world, and what he's able to do. And not necessarily able, but what he's willing to do is, look, we're the United States of America. We have all the leverage, all the buying power in the world, and he negotiates from a position of power. And you have these globalist leaders. Look, if there's one picture that typifies the Obama experience overseas and his global policy, was him bowing to the Saudi king. Because that in one picture, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, that one's absolutely priceless. That exemplified the Obama doctrine overseas. And he doesn't do that. Trump doesn't abide by that. What it is the left apologizes. They feel our country was started as a scam because of slavery, which we ended. And they really believe that America is a scam and ruining the world. And that's what they're teaching the kids too, as a matter of fact. And we talk about slavery. I mean, we stopped it. A lot of people died to stop slavery. And do we get any credit to that? I'm sure I have an ancestor that passed away. I mean, it was 1800. I'm sure I had somebody in the family pass away from that. But the left hates America and what we stand for. They do. They hate the America as it is. They love an America that they envision. But unfortunately, that America does not include people who think the way that you and I do. I've never heard a campaign in my lifetime that discussed slavery as much. Slavery was abolished in 1865, and it's a forefront issue. And Beto, Robert Francis, was talking about it last night. And there's a big movement. I don't know if you've heard about this. The New York Times talked about it. It's called the 1619 movement. Have you heard about this? Yes. So they wrote an article on it or something? Slaves first came, supposedly? Look, yeah, slaves first came to the American colonies in 1619. So it's almost like this revisionist narrative where they want to, America didn't start on July 4th, 1776. It started in 1619, whatever the specific day when the first African slaves came here. And this constant grievance and this constant victimhood. Yeah. And I think that touches on something bigger in our culture, is the currency of victimhood. Think about how identity politics works. At the center of identity politics, which is at the forefront of the Democrat policy, is I am a victim. Someone is oppressing me. Right. It is somebody's fault. Right. We've summed up liberalism in 2019. Which is just a horrible way to think that way. If you read the Bible and you believe in Jesus Christ, you would never feel that way. I'm always a victim. It's sad. It's very sad that someone can go through life like that. And it's another thing. We're throwing God out of America too. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that, and I think when we talk about victimhood, and we touched on this a little while ago, we talked about the cultural and technological changes during the Obama administration. One of the things that victimhood does is it gives you validation. And people, especially young people, seek their validation online. Now, you and I are Twitter guys, and it's nice to get retweeted. It's nice to get a like. And what does that do? It gives you a little hit of dopamine up in your brain. It's the same thing you get from sex. It's the same thing you get from eating chocolate. It makes you feel good. And when you go out on social media and you say, I am a victim, I am oppressed, and you get that feedback loop that, oh, good for you. You're so brave. You're coming out. You're embracing your truth. You're doing this and that. Right. It's a feedback loop of dopamine, and it makes you high. So essentially what we are is we're a country of dopamine addicts, and that dictates and controls the decisions that we make. So embracing victimhood, essentially we're feeding an addiction.
I have never really looked at it that way, but I certainly couldn't argue against that, which I love to argue both sides of anything, which really helps you see where they're coming from. But I've never heard that argument. And I'm like,
you learn something new every day.
Yeah. Well, you want to tell everybody what you do and maybe how to get hold of you if they get in trouble?
Absolutely. Well, my name's Eric Matheny. You can find me on Twitter at Eric M. Matheny, M being my middle initial. I'm a criminal defense attorney by trade, ericmathenylaw.com. Handle cases in Miami-Dade County, Palm Beach County, and Broward, sometimes other counties depending on the offense. I've been a criminal defense attorney now for over 10 years, and before that I started my career in the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office. I was a prosecutor. I've handled every case imaginable from DUI to murder, and I am a bigly Trump supporter, and certainly glad to be here with you, Bob. What about you? Tell the folks about yourself.
You can find me on Twitter at Robert Dunlap 947. I'm search banned, so my name's not going to come up. You just got to type that in and hit the name, and you'll find me. I'm just a political junkie. I started it when Obama got elected, because I said to my brother, well, after Carter, we got Reagan, so I can't wait to see who we're going to get after Obama. I never saw Trump coming down that escalator. Here he comes. But that's, I sell computers online, and I'm not looking to sell you a computer. But please call Eric if you get in trouble.
Absolutely. I'm here if you need me. I hope you don't, though.
So we're going to do this once a week. I'm sure it's going to get better. My lighting here is all messed up. It can only get better from here.
This is the worst episode you'll see. I can assure you.
Have a great week. God bless you, and thank you for watching.
Vote Trump.
Yeah!
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.